Victor Wembanyama, the man, the myth, the legend, potentially anyways. This is Sports Guy Talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Victor Wembanyama, as he will more than likely be drafted to the Spurs with the #1 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. The Spurs have missed the NBA playoffs in each of the last 4 seasons, but their future seems to be looking very bright. Victor Wembanyama is also considered to be a generational talent for a big man, as he could end up being a future all-time great player in the NBA. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with a topic question. So here it is. How excited are you for Victor Wembanyama on the Spurs? And I am very hyped up for Victor Wembanyama because I think this is the perfect fit for his NBA career. You want to talk about a generational talent? Going to a winning organization, you could not have drawn up the plan much better if you're the NBA. Victor Wembanyama is truly a special player. He can dunk like no other. He's a crazy good defensive player. He can even shoot the 3 ball somewhat relatively well for his size, and he's got good post-up skill. The only thing I will say about Victor Wembanyama that comes close to criticism is that he needs to bulk up. But you don't think Gregg Popovich is going to tell him to bulk up in that weight room? Because I think he's going to tell him to go ahead and bulk up. And also, Victor Wembanyama gets pushed around a little bit on the defensive end of the floor, but that's not going to happen under the tutelage of Gregg Popovich. Gregg Popovich is going to tell him how to defend better from the post. Victor Wembanyama is already a very good rim protector. If Victor Wembanyama never improved today, and if he remained the same player 10 years from now, Victor Wembanyama is still going to be a multiple-time All-Star, where he's going to be leading the San Antonio Spurs to the playoffs on a consistent basis. But Victor Wembanyama has the potential to be so much more than that. Victor Wembanyama is one of the hardest working players of his age. Victor Wembanyama is willing to fix his jump shot. He's got good mechanics to work off of. You don't think that the Spurs can go ahead and try to fix up his jumper? I mean, they've already done that with Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard's shot was a lot more messed up than Victor Wembanyama. The biggest thing for Victor Wembanyama's jump shot is that he just needs to see jumpers fall in. It's not like Victor Wembanyama needs to hit 40% from the 3-point line. If Victor Wembanyama can become a 35% 3-point shooter, along with this crazy paint game that he already has in his repertoire, he's going to be an unstoppable player. When you talk about player comparisons for Victor Wembanyama, there simply isn't a lot of it. A lot of people have looked at him as the next LeBron James, and although I hope that he could certainly get to that level because that would be good for the product of the NBA, Victor Wembanyama is not like LeBron James in terms of skill set. LeBron James was a lot more physical than Victor Wembanyama. When you talk about Victor Wembanyama's game, he's more of a guy that can power through the lane. He can dunk like crazy. He's versatile on the defensive end of the floor, and that's where his main repertoire is, being a great defensive player who has an interesting offensive skill set. Victor Wembanyama, he can space the floor a little bit. He's got solid handles. He can pass the basketball really well. When you talk about player comparisons for Victor Wembanyama, I think the best comparison for Victor Wembanyama would be skinny Giannis Antetokounmpo. What do I mean by skinny Giannis? That means that I'm talking about a guy that can handle the point a little bit, that can facilitate on the floor, that can pass the ball really well, that can play really good defense, a guy that can win a future Defensive Player of the Year award. We've known the San Antonio Spurs for having great defenders throughout the years of the Gregg Popovich era. I don't think Victor Wembanyama is any different than those special players for the San Antonio Spurs. And some people might be saying, hey, you keep talking about the Spurs past, why don't you talk about the Spurs present and why the game seems to have passed Gregg Popovich? And yeah, that seems to be true, but when your roster hasn't been that talented for a number of years, at some point the coaching is going to catch up to you. Gregg Popovich is a great coach and he should be remembered as one of the greatest coaches ever, but no coach is taking the Spurs to the playoffs when you got a bunch of no-namers in your starting lineup. And look, the San Antonio Spurs have been planning for Victor Wembanyama for years. It even started as far back as when Kawhi Leonard requested a trade from the San Antonio Spurs. You don't think the Spurs had inside knowledge on how great Victor Wembanyama was before everybody else? Because Victor Wembanyama plays for France. He's on the French national team and all that. And Tony Parker, he's a Spurs legend. He came from France. You don't think Tony Parker alerted the Spurs about this Victor Wembanyama guy years ago? And you don't think the Spurs were like, we got to do whatever it takes to get that kind of player, because if we get Victor Wembanyama, we're going to be a really good organization again, just like we were under David Robinson, just like we were under Tim Duncan. And Victor Wembanyama, he has so much flexibility, and he's a win-now player, and look at the maturity of Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama, whenever he gets interviewed, he sounds like a dude that is ready to win a ring as soon as possible, and he's not just saying it just to say it. He really means it. When he says that he wants to win a championship, he really wants it, and he's willing to put in the dirty work, and he's willing to put in the long hours in order to be a great basketball player. And I have no doubt in my mind that Victor Wembanyama is going to be the best basketball player that he can be for himself, not like a Zion Williamson who's more interested in eating donuts and eating all that Louisiana food while making sure he misses as many games as possible for them. When you talk about Victor Wembanyama, this kid is all about basketball. He's got no red flags whatsoever in terms of character, in terms of actual talent. The only thing I would say about him is he needs to work on his post of defense, and he needs to bulk up in the gym a bit, but those are easily correctable mistakes. I know some people are concerned about Victor Wembanyama's shot, but I'm not too concerned about that because Gregg Popovich is going to get that fixed up. He's fixed up guys with worse jumpers than Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama already has good mechanics for a jump shot. He just simply needs to adjust a couple of things, have a couple of minor tweaks, and see the ball go in. As long as he can get that fixed, he's going to be a great player in the NBA. And more importantly, let's talk about the assets that the San Antonio Spurs have in the future for Victor Wembanyama in terms of draft picks. Look, the San Antonio Spurs, they got all their first-round picks till 2030, and they got 2 first-round picks from the Atlanta Hawks that are just straight up unprotected, 2025 and 2027, and they also have a Hawks first-round swap in 2026. That's also unprotected as well. The Spurs are going to get the higher pick of the 2 between the Hawks and the Spurs. So I'm just thinking about how the San Antonio Spurs got all those picks in the future. And they also got protected first round picks from the Hornets, Raptors, Bulls, and Celtics that are coming up in the future. That's already 4 protected first round picks that are extra picks for the San Antonio Spurs to have in the first round. And also remember that the Spurs are going to have about $41 million in cap space, so they can go ahead and sign a max free agent if they want to. But if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, I wouldn't do anything crazy right now with the roster. I would just put Victor Wembanyama and try to put him around those role players that they have right now for the San Antonio Spurs. See if Victor Wembanyama can boost up the trade value of some of those role players on the San Antonio Spurs right now. You don't think that if some of those role players' value go up, the Spurs can go ahead and trade them for future first round picks or for a superstar perhaps? The San Antonio Spurs have a war chest of assets. Is it like the Oklahoma City Thunder in terms of future first round picks? No, it isn't, but it's still a lot of first round picks. I just feel overwhelmed at looking at all those future first round picks that the San Antonio Spurs have. And I'm also thinking about how the San Antonio Spurs, they could potentially be in play for a Luka Doncic in the near future. Let's say Victor Wembanyama becomes immediately good his first year or possibly even his second year, and Luka Doncic requests a trade from the Dallas Mavericks, which seems inevitable at this point in stage of his career. And if Victor Wembanyama ends up getting the team up with Luka Doncic, that is going to be a dangerous pairing because Victor Wembanyama is an elite defender while Luka Doncic is an elite offensive defender. Now, Luka Doncic is a liability on the defensive end of the floor, but that's okay because Victor Wembanyama is an amazing rim protector and he's an amazing defender. So he's going to cover up a lot of flaws for Luka Doncic. And on the offensive end of the floor, you don't think those pick and rolls that Victor Wembanyama and Luka Doncic are going to be running for each other is going to be unstoppable? Because I think that if they run pick and roll with each other, it's going to look absolutely lethal and unstoppable. So I'm just thinking about how the San Antonio Spurs, they could certainly have the assets to pull it off when Luka Doncic requests a trade from the Dallas Mavericks. So could you imagine a duo of Victor Wembanyama and Luka Doncic? That's going to be the definition of a dynamic duo, and then the Spurs can be able to fill out the rest of the roster with a bunch of superstar role players, maybe like a Bruce Brown type of player that the Denver Nuggets have. So I'm just thinking about how the San Antonio Spurs, they're set up very nicely for the foreseeable future. And let's say even if they don't go get Luka Doncic or something like that, they still got cap space to go ahead and attempt to get a Jason Tatum, a Brandon Ingram, a Donovan Mitchell. They could even go for Anthony Davis if they want to, though I wouldn't if I was the Spurs. They could even go ahead and get Jamal Murray or Jimmy Butler. The point of the story is the San Antonio Spurs have options, and their crazy plan that they tried to pull off in order to get Victor Wembanyama worked, and now they're going to be working on the next stages of building a great team around Victor Wembanyama. And watch out for the San Antonio Spurs, man, because this Spurs team can contend for a title very soon. I think the San Antonio Spurs could become title contenders in the Western Conference 4 to 5 years from now, if not sooner. That's how high I am on the San Antonio Spurs. I'm just really excited about the future of the Spurs because they're well coached and they have guys that are going to be really good in the NBA, and they already got their superstar in Victor Wembanyama. Of course, that's assuming that Victor Wembanyama is going to stay healthy, but I'm going to assume that because the Spurs take care of players really well. So that is why I am very excited for Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs, as they have a chance to build up a title contending team in the foreseeable future. Remember remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustinTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinTran and that Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.